Guys, what's up? It's Joe ready for Middy's Rise. We're back here at Crown Hyundai, and guess what? I have something redesigned and all new, all in one vehicle. It's this SUV right here. This is a 2026 Hyundai Palisade, which is redesigned, but this is the all new Palisade XRT PRO. But before we get into this midsize 3-row that has some off-roading credentials, let's talk about what's going on here. So believe it or not, it was back in 2018 when Hyundai unveiled what would be their largest crossover SUV, the Palisade. And then by 2019, it went into full production. Now, it's been a hot minute since they had a redesign. There's only technically been one generation of the Palisade. They refreshed it. This is the first ever redesign of the Palisade. And like I said, now bringing their XRT off-road trim, but it's actually an XRT Pro. But what I want to find out is this the best new crossover SUV to own? And does it have the credentials to overthrow vehicles like the Honda Pilot Trail Sport? Let's go ahead. Let's dive into our creamy white, that's the name of the color, creamy white XRT Pro, and find out. Right off the bat, I'm loving the overall dimensions of the Palisade, and really a departure from the previous generation. It all starts up front. So I think it's gonna be one of those things, whether you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. All new front end and headlight design. So you have these horizontal stacked vertical LED daytime running lamps and your turn signals all in one. Then you're gonna have these inner pods of your LED headlights. So very, very futuristic looking. Now working our way down on the XRT Pro, you are gonna get some flat black, mostly flat black, with a little bit of gloss. Now the one zonk I have is they should have made what this is supposed to be on a regular Palisade, an air curtain. They should have put some fog lamps in there. Now the great news is you actually have an extra inch of ground clearance. So that puts you up at around 8.7 inches of ground clearance. It sits an inch higher than your standard Palisade. So this is not just a Palisade with some cladding on it. They actually made some changes, some significant changes to make this more off-road worthy. Now, as we come across the front grille, you'll notice there's a paper thin strip of LED daytime running lamp. Then you're gonna have some dark chrome accent on the front grille up top. You do have a forward-facing camera. And then XRT Pro is gonna get this almost like aluminum style. It's like a flat titanium gray finish, unique grille to the XRT Pro. And no off-road vehicle is complete without your tow recovery hooks. You actually have 4 exposed tow recovery hooks, 2 up front, which means we have 2 out back, and they're in that bright Hyundai orange off-road coloring. Now this lower grille area is all XRT Pro because the way it's shaped is to give you a better approach angle. Love the way they did the skid plate ornament type of design on that lower front. Let me look underneath. Nope. Well, there is a small skid plate protecting the oil pan of this vehicle. So would have been nice to have skid plates all the way back, and that's one of the things when you go with the Pilot Trail Sport, you are gonna get more skid plates. And the skid plates on the Pilot Trail Sport are pretty freaking beefy. I've seen Honda Pro Jason jump up and down on one, and it didn't even bend or dent or flex or anything. But let me know what you think about the face of this XRT Pro. Nice to have the forward-facing camera. That's always an important piece of any off-road vehicle. It's like we're spoiled now. Remember the days when there weren't any cameras, period? Now we have forward-facing cameras on this XRT Pro. As we rise up, you have your front fascia. That's part of that upper grille area. Like the way they're just putting the badge nice and flat. It doesn't even protrude out like a zit. It's got that flat black finish to it. And then nice large hood. It's interesting because you would think with it being rounded here, it would make the nose look a little bit more droopy, but it doesn't, because as soon as it goes from rounded to flat with that U-shaped indentation, It just gives it a nice aggressive style. Now coming around the bend, we do have unique wheels and tires. You are gonna get these XRT Pro specific wheels. It's got an off-road look to it. It's not beadlock or anything like that, but you have your machined aluminum, the flat black with your XRT badge, and wrapped around those wheels are the Continental Cross Contact all-terrain tire. Now this isn't a heavy all-terrain tire, but you do have some light shielding around the sidewall and a little bit more aggressive tread to get you down that off-road path. Now, if you're wondering, well, Joe, what is the size of this wheel? 18-inch wheel in diameter. Tires are gonna be 255 on the width, 60 series sidewall, and you do have Hyundai's H-Track all-wheel drive system. There is some flat black around the fender openings. I'm okay with it because this is an off-road trim. And I'm gonna have Steven zoom in and show the shocks. Those are a little bit different than your standard Palisade because they're giving us a little bit more ground clearance. So nice to have that extra ground clearance. But let me know what you think about the wheel with this particular creamy white. One of my favorite parts of the design is the indentation that they put on that upper fender portion in the body color. Gives it that nice muscular look, sort of like up front with the hood. Coming down the side, you do have your gloss black on your mirror caps, 360-degree cameras. The rest is all flat black with your turn signals blended in. I like the way they black out the A-pillar. Really allows you to appreciate that flat roof design. We have the gloss black raised roof rails. You can get your Hyundai accessory crossbars. And you look at the Hyundai accessory catalog, there's all sorts of bike carriers, kid carriers. You can even throw up a dead body up there in one of those cargo carriers. Live out your National Lampoon vacation dreams. Go to Wally World. I like the fact that there's flat black on the door handles rather than gloss. And then you have a mixture of some flat black with the XRT badge embossed in there with the gloss black. Working towards the rear, nice size on the quarter window. This is front wheel drive based, and then power gets sent to the rear wheels. And then as we come around back, they really listen to Rady's rides. Nice long roof spoiler, body colored with your third brake light, super thin. Wiper is tucked up underneath. See how that cleans everything up? And then they went flat black on the badging, the Palisade badge, the Hyundai badge. Of course, you gotta have your XRT Pro. And then we have that vertical stack of LED taillights. And like I said, check it out. Tow recovery hooks on the back. We work our way down, you'll notice all that ground clearance and the way that they shape this rear bumper. I know some people would say it's a little too rounded, some people very close to me, but it's all about departure. So you go over, you have your approach, and then when you go over it, you gotta watch out for what's dangling on the backside. This will clean a lot of off-road trails and whatnot. Does come from the factory with the full tow receiver hookup, and that's tucked right underneath this removable panel. And before I forget, you do have a rear electronic limited slip diff and special terrain mode for this XRT Pro. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and talk about what's powering. All right guys, we got the hood popped. You do have prop rods underneath the hood. You gotta look because it's low in the engine cradle. That is a new V6. It's not the same V6 as the previous generation. So it's a 3.5 liter V6, 287 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. It is bolted to an 8-speed automatic, 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds. Top speed 130 miles an hour. MPGs 16 in the city, 22 on the highway, which is a little shocking. That seems a little low. I guess you got to factor in the off-road style tires and the all-wheel drive. It weighs 4,900 pounds, but you could tow up to 5,000 pounds with it. And like I said, nice to have all of the electronic goodies for off-roading, hill descent control, the electronic limited slip diff, all those pieces to help you get to that place where you like to go that's off the beaten path. But why don't we go ahead, let's fire this up and see the XRT Pro roll. All right, guys, we are inside this 2026 Hyundai Palisade XRT Pro. Now, I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I like the redesigned Palisade. I just, I'm not sure that I want to get an XRT Pro, but how much is it? Very good question. MSRP, the way this one is optioned, is right at $52,000. Let's see what Hyundai brought for the XRT Pro to the door panels. I'm fine with the very minimalistic, clean door panel. It's all soft touch. You got some nice stitching up top. I'm digging how they blacked out all the silver. So you got a blacked out door handle, blacked out panel around the windows and the lock switch gear, nicely padded armrest. Door pocket is a little tight, so maybe just 4 Pop-Tarts and a Mocha Latte Crepe from Starbucks, and that's about it. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, we got the Bose sound system, soft touch, some nice stitching up there. You got the XRT badge, but I don't know why they didn't put XRT Pro. That's a zonk. You got to put XRT Pro. This is the Pro. And I really like this wood style finish. Nice dark finish here. No gloss black. Soft touch. You do have your Baker's Dozen. Somebody didn't close that properly. Baker's Dozen Twinkie rack here. And then slide on in, you're getting 2 12.3-inch clusters. Infotainment and your gauge cluster. Obviously, you've seen this 20 different ways from Sunday. The big difference is you get all the regular apps and icons right here. You see that? Hit off-road, check it out. That's pretty neat. The graphics, the information that they bring is pretty freaking phenomenal. Even look at how when you're off-roading, you got your forward-facing camera, your 360, so that you don't curb the wheels or bang up the bodywork or anything like that. And then it even has things like oil pressure, your voltmeter, all those goodies. So this is unique only on the XRT Pro. Plus you can listen to Love Shack by the B-52s. But really nice to just have that flexibility. You do have your column electric shifter for the 8-speed automatic, and your start-stop button is actually mounted on the shifter. Real knobs, which are great for your audio controls. And then you do have your dual climate, 3 stages of ventilated seats and 3 stages of heated seats, heated steering wheel. You got your toggle switch for your different drive modes. And you do, like I say, you see how it says terrain? That's only on the XRT Pro. Down below, you got another nook here for a 7-Eleven hot dog, a 12-volt. You can read the history of Hyundai. So every Hyundai gets a history book. And basically this talks about Hyundai coming to North America with the Hyundai Excel. It was a hatchback, it was a sedan. There was only those 2 options. And now look at Hyundai. They really did what the Japanese brands did to the American manufacturers. They did the same thing to all the manufacturers. So keep the history book down there in case anybody challenge you, especially if there's some type of Jeopardy star like Matamodio or something. Love the way they carved out the center console. 3 USB-Cs, wireless charging, 2 cup holders. You have your alien suppository key fob. I know some people that like this. I'm not a big fan because it looks like a suppository. Soft touch on the armrests for the center console. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Open the door. You got enough room in there to where you could put, I would say, at least 2 pounds of fool's gold in there. Pyrite. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother gave me a piece of pyrite and she told me it was real gold. And then when I was 30, I went to go cash it in, thinking I was a millionaire, and the guy laughed in my face. I still love my grandmother. Seats, it's not leather, it's called H-Tex. So it's a synthetic material, but you have the XRT embossed. Look at the way they did some nice design. Full electric assist for the passenger, full electric assist for the driver. You don't get a panoramic sunroof, but you do at least get a sunroof, and it's all dark headliner in here, which is great. So I'm very happy about that. But why don't you come over here to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel in this new Palisade. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. You do have your electric assist, easy to reach. What's interesting is that there's no memory seat settings. So I am going to zonk that, especially on a 52G. And I'm not talking about G-Wagon, I'm talking about 52 grand of an SUV. I'm 6 feet tall, plenty of room in here, even with the sunroof. Love the leather on the steering wheel. Nice stitching. Hyundai needs to stop doing this. Please stop doing this. We're not using the telegraph. Your name isn't Samuel B. Morse. We don't need Morse code for the letter H. The only thing that's kind of cool, I guess, is when you change the modes, these little 4 dots have lights in them that change colors. But other than that, I don't like it. Flat black on all the switchgear, which I do like. You have paddles on the back of the wheel to go up and down your 8-speed automatic, manual tilting and telescoping wheel. And then, of course, we have that 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. You can scroll through a cornucopia of information, even your off-road stuff. Your Palisade SEL can't do that. Your Palisade calligraphy can't do that. It happens in this vehicle here, and I love it. Now, when it comes to modes, you have your regular drive modes, but then I hit the terrain button. Look at this. Snow, mud, and sand. That is unique to this vehicle, and if I could reach it, you do have your blind spot cameras. Nice. The one thing it doesn't have, besides memory seats, is a head-up display. Let me know if you think that should be a Zong. But let's get into the mid-row and third row and see if Hyundai brings their muscle to those seating areas. All right, guys, mid-row time. You'll notice everybody gets a Bose speaker, all blacked out speakers, and you see that right there? That lets your passengers know not to open up the door if a car is coming. Now, I know they say no cars are driving on the road, and they never step in the road or run in the road, but that will let them know if there's a car coming. In the mid-row, I love the seats, the way they're just like up front. They're getting better. It's a little bit larger, but it just needs to be a little bit wider. That's all. So, but I'm not. Since they improved it, I'm gonna let it slide. I'll let it slide. Backs of the seats, the H-Techs. You do have these large pockets. You could put, I would say, 4 Annie Ann's pretzels in there. I love the way they have the USB-Cs high out of the way, so it's easy access. You got a home power source, and then down below, you get a nice little drawer here. This is where you could keep all sorts of candies. I would love it if my parents, when I was a kid, loaded that up with maybe some peanut M&Ms, regular M&Ms, Skittles, Mike and Ike's, Good and Plenty. I would keep my mouth shut the whole time. I probably would weigh about 300 pounds, but my mouth would be shut because I'd be eating. Seats feel great. You got the slide. You got the recline. Whoa, recline. I almost got a little scared there. I thought I was going to fall backwards. I just don't like the ratcheting armrest. That's the one thing I don't like. But I do. Look at how nice this is. You actually have manual shades, so you don't have to go to Walmart and get that cheap window tint square that people like to stick on their side glass. Up top, you do have all your AC controls, which is great because now both people can do it. If it's over here, I can only do it. If it's over there, you can only do it. And that would piss me off. But it's nice to have it so everybody does it. AC vents are mounted high up top. And then we're going to do this all in one shot. Watch my finger. Steven, pull my finger. You're going to push the button. See how that works? Push. Let me slide the seat up a little bit so I don't break my legs. And we're going to climb into the third row. Now, surprisingly, it's not too bad. My knees are a little high, but I have plenty of room away from the headliner, and you do have the AC vents and USB-Cs on both sides, plus 2 cup holders. So you could be like, hey, before you get in, what would you like to drink? I would like a can of cream soda and a can of root beer. If you gave me those 2 things, I'd be a little bit more happier back here. If you didn't, I'm going to be cursing. But why don't we go ahead, let's get in that cargo area and see how many cases of cream soda we could put in this creamy white Hyundai. All right, guys, what I like about this XRT Pro, just like I showed you up front when we were talking about the driver's side, the passenger side, and everything else, is that it comes well equipped. Electric lifting rear lift gate. Now, the rear bumper is quite high because, remember, it's a lifted SUV. Plus the way they shaped it. But once you open up the back with the third row up, you're looking at 19 cubic feet of space. To fold the third row down, this is how all SUVs should be. You just go like this, look. I'll even do it with my pinky just to prove a point. You go like that. That's it. We don't need electric motors. We don't need all this other junk. There you go. Now you're looking at that expanded space. That's 46 cubic feet of space. You fold down the mid-row, 87 cubic feet of space. Now, when it comes to what else do we have going on here, we can lift this up. Not a lot of storage. I mean, you could basically put, I would say, two 12-inch meatball subs back here for when you get hungry. Plus, that hides it from the bears when you're out in the woods. You don't want the bears to come and get you, bite you right in your zag nuts. Now, in the rest of the cargo area, you do have, I like the fact that there's a 12 volt, and you have your buttons to fold down the mid-row. Just do that. Look at that. Wow. It's almost like I planned it. And then, like I said, there are USB-Cs on both sides of the third row, which is great. But why don't we go ahead? We got the XRT Pro. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle and see how it drives. All right, guys, we are inside this 2026 Hyundai Palisade XRT Pro. And right away, you're gonna love the changes that they made, because the Palisade was already pretty darn good. Now it's been raised to another level, especially when you go with the XRT Pro. First time ever, really nice to have that competitor, because a lot of the other brands are doing those light off-road crossover SUV trims. Getting to the 12.3 inch is well within reach. And then the instrumentation. Right now I have it in the off-road setup, but I could easily change that all by the press of a button. Visibility is great out the front because they pulled the A-pillars super wide apart. You have all of Hyundai's safety features, including the blind spot cameras, which make changing lanes a snap. And you have good visibility out the back as well. Seats are comfortable without being too soft. And the fact that you have heated and ventilated is very nice, especially when it's a hot day like it is today. But a very interesting way that they elevated their normal XRT trim to a Pro, and I'm very curious to see if they're gonna do this with their other models in their lineup. Now, if you're wondering what did I just press, I pressed the button for the automatic start-stop system to be deactivated. That way the vehicle is still running. And like I said, you got your different modes, quite a bit of them, which is gonna change steering sensitivity, throttle sensitivity, and how the transmission, the engine, and the all-wheel drive system behave with one another. But let's go on this side street over here. We're gonna go on throttle and see how it goes. Of course, if you're going off-roading, you could bring up your off-road pages here. And that's gonna allow you to have that forward-facing camera. Now, the camera only comes on at certain speed, but you can see how nice and clear it is. Great resolution, but then it does deactivate, which I am gonna have to zonk that. That is a little annoying, because I wanna have it maybe if I'm going a little quicker. But let's go on throttle. I'm in sport mode. On throttle, here we go. So you do have that linear torque delivery. You're not waiting for any kind of boost or anything from a turbocharger. Is it fast? No. But compared to a Honda Pilot Trail Sport, they're pretty much on par with one another. So you can see why Hyundai made the changes that it did. Now, with the XRT Pro setup, it actually really aids in how comfortable of a driving experience that this is, because even like torn up roads, if we're not off-road but we're just on a road that's really torn up, the suspension does a really good job of soaking up the bumps, and it's not all floaty, which is nice. You ready? On throttle, here we go. 8-speed drops down. You can see this area is a little bit more torn up. But the handling is really, really precise. They did improve the handling department with your steering rack. And they definitely came up with a good compromise of having the off-road tire, but not getting too much extra road noise, which is good. I mean, it feels really rock solid, even going over those railroad tracks. And I could see how this definitely does have that higher level of off-road capability. Now, is it a rock crawler? No. But it's just something to be able to get you exactly where you want to be off the beaten path. But it's just so comfortable. It's quiet on the inside. Love the fact that we have ventilated seats along with the heated seats. And you have 3-row flexibility. If you need to have 3 rows for seating in your midsize, you get this. I guess the one thing, I wish they would have made the Santa Fe a 2-row, sort of like how the Passport is a 2-row of the Honda Pilot. But like I said, the camera quality, the digital gauge cluster, all the information, I mean, you're getting everything all by the pressing of a fingertip. You can scroll within each menu, which is great as well. But it's really easy to drive and very manageable. So let's say you're stepping up from a Kona or a Tucson. I think you're gonna find out that with the way that this vehicle drives, it's very, very easy to navigate with. But I'm hoping that this has been a good, quick overall review of what the Palisade XRT Pro is bringing. We're gonna get back to Crown Hyundai and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, another great day in so many ways here at Crown Hyundai. Definitely got to thank Casey and the rest of the crew getting us access to this first time ever XRT Pro version of the redesigned Hyundai Palisade. Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? Is this the must-own midsize? Is it something that can compete and beat possibly the Honda Pilot Trail Sport? Let me know your thoughts in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Radius Rides family. We got to thank Stephen Flood. You know, he loves all sorts of vehicles and really loves talking about design. I've been telling him he needs to start a podcast called Stephen Flood's Design Philosophies. So show him some love in the comment section, help motivate him. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.